All right, it is Media Day. We are talking 4-5A Division II, and I'm joined by Arlington Heights head coach Phil Young. Coach, I appreciate you joining us. This new district you're in, the last, two realignments, you can kind of be put in a district where it was a struggle for you guys to pick up some wins, but being in with your Fort Worth ISD familiar foes, it may help a little bit, wouldn't you say?
Yes, putting it mildly, yes. That has been the topic of our prayers for a long time. I'm surprised my hair hadn't fallen out over the past 4 years. We've had a really tough district that we've been in the past 4 years with some quality teams, and not that our team is not capable enough for the challenge, but we just knew what we were getting in. It was one of the toughest districts around. And the first year in it, 4 years ago, we really had a good fine year. We went 6-4. Beat some good teams. We had 5 come from behind wins. The following year, we went 2-8 and had a pretty good team, but everybody was, loaded in the district. And South Hills was still in the district at the time. The past 2 years, they dropped out of it, and we added Northwest. 1 4-game stretch for us this year. We played Aledo, Abilene Cooper, Azle, Justin, Northwest, and we just had to get our boys ready for it. And the thing that I told our coaches just the other day, not saying that we're better coaches than anybody, but in 32 years as a coach, probably one of the best coaching jobs as a staff we've done has been in the last 2 years. It has nothing to do with wins and losses. It has everything to do with holding a program together that very easily could have just dissolved into nothing with COVID, because essentially in Fort Worth, the kids did not have to come back to school the entire year. So most Fort Worth ISD campuses, high school campuses, retained about 20% of the population on campus. And we had our numbers weren't as high as some of the teams we were playing against anyway with kids in the program, but, we'd had a pretty quality number of kids that had come up through. We were able to handle a freshman, JV, and a varsity. And I think there were only 3 teams in the 13 schools in Fort Worth that actually had 2 sub-varsity teams. I think it was us, Pascal, maybe Benbrook, and maybe one other. It's just because the numbers had dropped off so much, and it wasn't unique to us, but the Fort Worth schools lost so many boys just because they didn't come back to school. And hindsight is easy to look back, and I'm not the Monday morning quarterback and what should have been done and what shouldn't have been done. But I think that most people looking back go, man, it probably wasn't the best for our kids and our program to keep them all at home. And I understand the situation, the severity of it, but some kids were getting jobs. A lot of kids were getting jobs. A lot of them were asked to babysit their little siblings while their parents went to work, and they wouldn't come back. And you can't hold them accountable for not being in off season, because if you do, then you're going to run off half your kids, and then you have no team, and the program falls apart. So saying a lot to say this, I guess, through these past 4 years, our coaching staff and our players that have been with us every week, just trying to rally them up and saying, let's compete, let's get after it, let's have great off seasons, let's just work hard for the program. Heights is a quality program, and we're competitive, but we got to work at it. That was really hard, and my hat's off to our coaches and our players for believing in what we kept telling them, and they kept coming around, and our numbers went down. They went down probably about 20% in the program, but we felt like this year we knew we were going to be young, and Booger Bear schedule. We actually had the smallest senior class I've ever coached in high school. I had 16 seniors this year, and usually I'm in the mid-30s, and that is because a lot of these boys, their sophomore year didn't play at the end, junior year didn't play, and we lost them to COVID, and they never came back. So because of that, we played 8 or 9 sophomores up this year and had a big junior class up. And I've been in it long enough to know that the little brother grows up, and little brother got beat up this year, but little brother's growing up, and it's amazing to see the maturity and expertise these kids have had just from playing a year, and you just got to love them up and hope they don't get broke playing against the teams that we played, and just come on, man, we'll get you in the off season and you'll grow. And so we're super excited right now. But I will say this, when the realignment number came out, we were it was a very tense day, but it really felt like we won the lottery around here when they put us down in Division II.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the lumps you had to take and the sweating to get through those 2 years, but do you feel now is the perfect time to be toughened up? Like you said, the little brother getting big now, and now you're in a more favorable district where a playoff spot is very attainable.
Yes. There was not a game that we played last year that wasn't just tremendously it's just so hard on our kids when they're young, but it did. they toughened up and they learned the speed of the game at a high level. I mean, those 4 teams that I mentioned, I think the year before probably had 7 losses between the 4 teams, you know, and they had the state champion out of it, and probably had 45 wins. And those kind of teams you better be ready for. And got great coaches, but I tell you what, it made them coach hard too, because you get ready for Alito. And I scheduled that game. We had a Fort Worth ISD school drop us, 3rd game of the year. Alito had an opening, and I called Tim, and I used to play him when I was at Cleveland. We were actually in the district when I first got to Arlington Heights, and I said, hey, I got a young team. We need a game. You need a game. Nobody else is going to play you, but everybody would want to play me. How about we come to Alito? Because I want our kids and our program, because we had some foresight for the next few years if we got into this Fort Worth district. I want our kids to see the best, from the best stadium, the best players, the best team, high level of coaching, speed of the game. And the kids bought into it, you know, so they weren't ever afraid. But I could see them gradually growing up through the year. I started a freshman quarterback most of the year, and it was yeah, his first start was against Alito, and I patted him on the butt, man. I said, go get him, man. And he just looked at me and said, let's go. He's a little Johnny Manziel kind of guy, and he went out there and just did the best he could, like all our kids.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Yeah.
Let's talk about some of these guys that are coming up. You got a couple second teamers out there with Brian Furch at running back, and then if you want to talk about Henry Mencken on the defense, I would love to hear about some of these guys that have gone through the growing pains and fought through the COVID year and still kept coming out and now are ready to go.
Yeah, they command this locker room and this weight room. They are like coaches. The maturity level of these boys right now, because they're both. We've got quite a few kids this year that will be 3-year starters for us. And Gabe McClellan, Michael Powell, Brian Furch, like I said, Henry Mencken. We've got a sophomore, junior to be, Alberto Chaboy, who started this past year. And we just got some guys that are what you want as a coach. They're an extension of you and your belief system. And Brian Furch, we got him as a sophomore and played him. And I'm telling you, he probably was not ready to play as a sophomore in varsity. We just didn't have anybody. And he was a good worker. He's always been a good worker, but we had to play him. His junior year last year, he came in pretty dang good shape, but still he was a little heavy. He was probably a little over 220. And even though he went for about 1,350 yards this year, there were games where, you know, the elite teams that, you know, they shut him down pretty good. But he is one of those backs that just got better and better and better. And his work ethic he'd be up here on Sundays with his cones and step ladders, been going over them. We're here in the office working Sunday afternoon, and he's out there on his own going through his drills. And that's the kind of guy you like to see. There's no prima donna, no entitlement in him at all. And he's a quiet worker with just a great demeanor about him. So we got him this year, and he just destroyed the weight room. He loves it. We got a group of about 25 to 30 boys that we cannot get them out of it. And then we took them all onto the track. We told Brian, you need to lose just a little bit of weight, and we need to get our speed right if you're going to play next level, and if you're going to be the dude we're going to depend on this year. Well, he just bought into that, and he started running, and you know, he ran every workout of everything we wanted. We were running quarter mile workouts. He'd do it. Sprinter workouts. He'd do it. He never ever blinked an eye. And same with Henry Mencken. So both those guys trimmed a little bit weight, but their strength went through the roof. Henry's nearly a 500-pound squatter, and he's probably 215, 6'1", 6'2".
I could, man, just hearing you talk, I could see the excitement you have for the upcoming year. And you're lucky enough you have built-in motivation there with A-Train winning the Super Bowl last year. You can go in there and tell them, hey, look, a guy from Heights can go all the way to the top. You guys can do the same thing, right?
Yes, sir. You know, and that was a neat, because he came back. We retired his jersey, and he came back and he talked, and what just a great man he is. We've got a big thing on the wall that, you know, hey, this is the home of Ashawn Robinson. But another thing that we tell our players is we had a player drafted Saturday by the Seattle Seahawks, Tariq Woolen, who's at UTSA. He played for us here and ran track, and he's a 6'4" cornerback, so he may have a career too. But he bought in and ran the track workout, and he was actually on a part of a track team we had. It took all 3 relays to the state meet his junior year. We had the sprint relay. He was on that, the 4x2, and the mile relay. And we had some pretty special guys. But, you know, we push it really hard, the weight room and the track, and it's a great combination. But I've always felt like that they're married to each other, really. I mean, if you're going to be great at football, you better do the track workouts. You may not win a medal, but you better do them.
That's awesome. Hey,
yeah.
Listen, I'll finish off by asking you about your non-district. I remember earlier in this interview, you talked about, hey, let's play Aledo. Let's go up to Aledo just so they can see what it's like. Well, now maybe you have a different mindset for your non-district games because now you're actually preparing for a good shot at making the playoffs here. So who do you have in the non-district, and how do you hope those games help you out?
Well, we played Joshua, and then we play Frisco Panther Creek, and then we play Waco University. And, you know, when you go 2-8, a lot of people call you. So I got a lot of phone calls, but I really feel like those are quality teams, no doubt. But I felt like that I had a poker hand that nobody could see, that I got a bunch of aces. And they're wanting to play us, and I'm going, oh, yeah, I don't care. I would be fine playing Aledo again. And that's why when we get into our district, you know, I know all these coaches in Fort Worth, they're great men, and they have very well-coached teams, but I'm not as familiar with Colleyville and Grapevine, and I know that they have very strong programs. We did play Grapevine a few years back. We split with them. We beat them once, they beat us once, and we played Colleyville Heritage in the playoffs a couple times. But I have no problem with whoever's on our schedule because I really believe, number one, our boys want to go undefeated. They want to be a 10-0 team in the playoffs, and we believe we can do it with a lot of hard work. And even if we don't and we fall a little bit short, you know, we're going to shoot for the stars. If we fall short, we may land on the moon anyway. But there's just a tremendous belief and excitement every day when these kids show up and these coaches that really wasn't here for the last 3 years. It was, man, let's work hard to keep it together. We can't let it dissolve because we see good things coming, and we're finally there. This has been one of the funnest springs I've ever had.
I love it, Coach. Man, I love that. I love holding the program together for 2 years, and now it's freaking ready to go. You're ready to go.
Yep.
I can see it. I can hear it. I heard people screaming in the hallway. Probably has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but hey, dream that it might be.
They're heading to the weight room. That's where they go. They're excited, man.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you joining us, Coach, and good luck this year.
Thank you, Ward. Appreciate it.